Welcome to Good God, conversations that matter about faith and public life. I'm your host, George Mason, and I'm delighted to welcome to Good God, Kyle Ogden, who is the president and CEO of Thanksgiving Foundation here in Dallas. Kyle, welcome to the program.
Thank you, George. Happy to be here.
Well, Kyle, I think before we get into your personal details, when people hear, and I'm sure if they live in the Dallas area, they've heard of the Thanksgiving Foundation and Thanksgiving Square, but you've just had a year of celebrating 60 years, right?
That's
60 years, not you personally, but the foundation
right.
and this enterprise. It is a unique place and a unique idea. Tell us how it got started and what that history is.
Okay, great. So unique maybe is an understatement. I'm not sure there's anything like it anywhere.
Yes.
So in the 60s, and we all know what was going on in Dallas in the 60s, and it was, we were kind of slow to come to some of the cultural change that the rest of the country came to, and there were a group of business guys that gathered together, led by Peter Stewart, who is really kind of the founder and kind of the energy behind the square. But in 1964, 60 years ago, 61 years ago now, they formed the Thanksgiving Foundation, and it was really partially a green space, but really a place that would inspire Dallasites to a higher culture, if you will.
Right.
It was it's one of the fun things you do is you look through all of this stuff. In a 60-year-old organization, there's lots of stuff.
Yes.
And so I've looked through a lot of that stuff, and it's been interesting. And one of the things that I discover is, these guys thought they were building the Statue of Liberty in the middle of Dallas. They compared Thanksgiving Square to gratitude as the Statue of Liberty is to freedom. So
okay,
that, it was really a big idea, George.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not not the run-of-the-mill project.
Sure.
It was a city block in downtown Dallas, and these guys really thought. And they convinced the community. There's 400-something citizens and institutions involved in that contributed towards Thanksgiving Square.
Right.
And I'm convinced they thought they were building the Statue of Liberty in downtown Dallas. And that its role would be kind of alongside of Eric Johnson, the TI executive.
Right.
Came on board and became the mayor around that time, and they did goals for Dallas, and where they all went down and studied. 70 people went down to Salado, Texas, the Stagecoach Inn, and convened a conversation about the future of Dallas. And kind of the
well, this is in the wake of the JFK killing here in Dallas,
Right.
So Dallas's reputation was really poor nationally, obviously at that time. And so
probably well earned, honestly.
That's probably right. Yeah, exactly. So if people were to go downtown, they would find this interesting sort of triangle of land, right? That has some unique architectural features to it, including an interfaith chapel and a building designed by was it Philip Johnson?
Philip Johnson. Yeah.
Philip Johnson, one of the famous architects in America in the late 20th century.
George, interesting story there, real quick.
Yeah.
Down in the basement, and you've seen our basement and all the archives there. I'm going through a file cabinet one day, and I see these folders in there. And there's a folder for Frank Lloyd Wright.
Wow.
There's a folder for I.M. Pei. There's a folder for obviously Philip Johnson and a number of others. So again, another data point that indicates these guys were doing something important.
Oh, big time, absolutely. So the Interfaith Chapel is a unique place. So if you go down there, and it's available to people, to different groups, to go and pray and that sort of thing, right? So it's not a chapel in the traditional sense of the word. Right. It's kind of generic, you might say, right? But it has this spiral that goes up, and you feel like when you're in there, this small space and very plain otherwise, that your eye goes up into this spiral and this mosaic of stained glass.
Right.
So tell us about that. What's the idea?
So
of that?
Gabrielle Leroy was the artist, a Frenchman, that designed that, and it's purposefully unadorned, other than that beautiful stained glass window, which, by the way, Architectural Digest ranks among the most beautiful stained glass windows in the world.
Wow.
And in fact, it's I'm told, haven't really studied this, but I'm told it's the world's largest horizontally mounted stained glass window.
Fascinating. Yeah.
But it is, and the interfaith nature of it, or the lack of religious adornment, turns out to be kind of exactly what you need in a diverse city like the city of Dallas, because everybody is welcome there. I like to talk about, our community is all people of goodwill.
Yeah.
If you're a person of goodwill, then we embrace you as part of our community at Thanksgiving Square.
Well, I think there's an interesting contrast that we could bring. So, for example, you have the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C., obviously an enormous building and completely different, but it's supposed to function in a sense as a place where everyone is welcome to worship and that sort of thing, even though it's run by the Episcopal Church. And yet it is a church, and it is a Christian church trying to exercise hospitality to others. But here in Dallas, Thanksgiving Square, the Interfaith Chapel, you bring your own faith tradition to fill the space that is welcoming, but is not dictating to you a kind of architectural liturgy, if you will, a kind of a way that you should have to conform. You're bringing it. I think that is really a metaphor for the kind of city we want to be, and really, if you think about it, for the kind of country that we set out to be, though that is, of course, right now, an incredibly contested view, right? Yeah.
We don't have good concurrence on that.
No, we really don't. We really don't. But anyway, so in addition to being a place, you have also programs. I know that annually you host at the Meyerson recent years the National Day of Prayer luncheon,
yeah.
and be doing that again this year on May the 1st. Exactly. And so, when you think about programming, Kyle, what's the programming philosophy of Thanksgiving Foundation?
So, I would say at the root of it is community building.
Okay.
We want to be facilitators of a better Dallas, a better place to be. One of the things that I've been there 7 years. One of the things that I've tried to evolve us to is a little more of a local focus.
Yes.
Peter Stewart and the folks, the founders, had big international ambitions.
Right.
His dream was to have a World Day of Thanksgiving, where everybody on the planet celebrated Thanksgiving on the same day. Right. Ambitious and important goal, but it kind of looked beyond the city at a more we're a UN NGO, and he was kind of looking beyond the community at this big goal that he had, and unfortunately, the foundation suffered because of that, because we weren't directly addressing the needs of the community. Our constituency kind of faded away, and we weren't providing a value to or at least the community wasn't valuing what we were putting out there for them to consume. And so we've taken more of a local community focus in recent years, and trying to be have a conversation about quality of life, and what does it mean to be human, and how to kind of addressing our inner humanity and our connectivity, our spirituality, those kinds of things through. And so you asked about programming. I mean, there are a lot of things that kind of fit in that realm. We try not to do. I don't consider us an overtly religious organization. I do think we advocate for diversity. Religious diversity is one flavor of diversity, but we again when you
diversity, sure.
but when you're building a community,
Right.
an inclusive community, it goes
Right.
beyond a conversation about religion. It goes to other elements as well, and so.
All right. So where did you come to this work? So here you were a businessman,
Right.
And your background is not in public service. Your background is not in civic life and all of that. So what brought you to this, and what happened and changed in the direction of your life to bring you to this moment?
Interesting. Yeah, I was kind of on the opposite end of that. So I'm a 5 million-mile American Airlines guy. I spent my first career on an airline.
Okay.
I'm an MBA CPA.
Yep.
Started Deloitte.
Yep.
Joined my wife's family business. Ran that business for 30 years, and we sold it. And so as you described, not community involved particularly, not civically alert, but just kind of trudging through life like most of us do. Honestly,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the people I'm trying to address now are the people that, like me in my prior life, who were kind of muddling through and answering emails and going to soccer practice and living life,
Right.
but not in a particularly focused or directed kind of way.
Yeah.
Really, kind of more of a reactive kind of thing, which I think we tend to do. We tend to react to, and things fill our day that fill our day, and rather than us being particularly programmed about that.
Yeah. So I think this is one of the reasons for this conversation. It's, yes, we're going to talk about Thanksgiving Foundation, but, good God tries to focus on the common good and on how our faith or some source of values drives our participation in the common good. And I think I talk to a lot of people like you, Kyle, who are at a place in their life of transition. They've, spent the first half of their life becoming successful, and now they want to become significant, right? And so, but they don't know what to do. They don't know how to make that shift. And there is a kind of shift that has to take place. How did you do that? What would you share with people is important in that process of discernment?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm very fortunate in that when my journey came to an abrupt halt, and but I didn't feel like I needed to just sit on the couch or go play golf every day. I felt I had this opportunity as a result of some friends that were on the board that I'm not sure that I was really in touch with. My desire to do this as much as this all kind of happened at the same time, and I became I became in touch with the fact that this was a blessing for me to be able to sit and be introspective about where I had been and where I wanted to be, and to create, take an active participative role in creating that quality of life, creating that experience that I thought would give me a richer life.
Well, so in a sense, what you're saying, I guess, is it's not necessarily you come to a point and then you sit down and you evaluate all the options out there. You're probably more responding to relationships and opportunities that come your way. And you also don't have to go to school to retool. You, in a sense, you're taking what you've already learned to offer, and then you're in a process of receiving and being changed by all of this, is what I hear you saying.
Yeah, I think so. I think that point of discernment that comes just becomes an opportunity if you'll take it.
Yeah.
And there's the Bob Buford book on second half, and
That's
there's
right.
the David Brooks book, the Second Mountain.
Yep.
Those I explored all that stuff.
Sure.
And I had a non-compete, so I wasn't going to continue to do what I had been doing.
Right.
And so, I was going to learn and do something new.
Right.
And nonprofit work, I say, it uses a lot of the same skills that you use in business, but
Right.
you keep score differently. And
Okay, talk about that. How do you keep score in nonprofit work?
It's better.
Yeah.
It's it's not a P&L.
Yeah.
It's a community impact.
Yes.
And so that ability to influence and improve people and people's lives, and to try to have other people see the value in the journey that I've seen,
Yes.
and be in the places where I've gotten the privilege to be, and know the people I've gotten the privilege to know. It's just been a blessing. George, you've been a blessing to me. There's a number of others that
Thank you.
that have helped me through this journey to understand what it is how to think about these things. I mean, I was thinking this morning, I'm not sure I've ever had that there are any original thoughts anymore. But if you're open to learning,
Yeah.
and from people in the community or books or the many resources that are available to us, I think it's been transforming for me. I'm a different person than I was before, and it's the word journey gets overused a bit, I think, but it is a bit of a personal journey to be to find what it is that kind of lights you up and brings meaning to your life.
Right.
And then again, the privilege I have is I get to what I learn, I get to talk about, and I get to bring to people in their experiences at Thanksgiving Square.
I think about the nonprofit sector, and this is somewhat unusual, our country, over against other nations, where we have such a strong nonprofit sector of our community. And in a sense, it sits as a kind of buffer zone between the state and the individual. And then also as a buffer between the state and individual and private interests. So that it really is about focusing on well-being, on the community, on how something is not just about taking advantage for an individual or a group, but how it drives us toward each other, to live together. And I think that's something that has to be done by intention, right? It doesn't just happen automatically, because I think that probably we all draw to people who are more like us. It's a more comfortable thing, right? But when we deliberately foster these kinds of opportunities to know people who are different from us, from different parts of the city, from different ethnic groups and religious groups and the like, it is a transformative thing, isn't it?
It is. Something you said about kind of the role of the nonprofits. The country's founders, they believed that this experiment, this experiment with freedom and democracy, required a virtuous population.
Right.
That you couldn't be, that the government would fail, that this experiment would fail unless the people pursued virtue and goodwill beyond, and what I call virtuous self-mastery, beyond the just the day-to-day evolution of things, right?
Right.
And so, maybe that's the role of the nonprofit, is to live alongside of the government and foster that human development, if you will, that virtuous self-mastery, and the things that are kind of beyond the law and order that come with the government.
Exactly.
And build the individual, build character,
Right. So there's a passage in the New Testament that talks about these virtuous qualities. And then the Apostle Paul says something to the effect of, against such as these, there is no law. In other words, You can't legislate morality per se.
Right.
You can legislate against evil, right? A prevention of evil, but virtue has to be cultivated.
Right.
And there's no law against virtue. It's
Right.
in fact it's necessary that you have that. But where does it come from? Obviously, it can come from religious traditions. It can also come from basic human ethical ideals and the like. But one of the keys, and really the original vision that still is in place for Thanksgiving Foundation and the Square, is gratitude. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving, obviously the name. So what role do you think, Kyle, gratitude plays in developing and nurturing and fostering those kinds of personal and public virtues?
Yeah. Well, Cicero says gratitude is the father of all virtues, is the the most important and the one that enables all the others. And so I guess that's one thing, is that the gratitude as a virtue is the thing that really enables all other virtue to kind of come into focus and being. There is. I mean, I think we all feel the warmth that comes with gratitude and the enrichment, the life enrichment that comes with being kind of aware of the fact that we're not in this alone. We don't.
Right.
Our good fortune is not strictly our doing.
Right.
There are lots of people in.
There's a givenness to life that
Right.
we all have, that we receive.
Right.
Right.
That's communal, right? That it's
Yep.
and sometimes you can point, well, these things contributed to it, but a lot of times it's just the environment, that melting pot that helps us be successful. And
Right. So, and I think if people talk about keeping gratitude journals and things of that nature, because if you keep focusing on the sense of thanks for what has been given to you and what you are sharing in this life, then the tendency to feel shortchanged, to have grievances, to nurture this sense of lack or this competitiveness as if there's not enough to go around for everyone and I have to get mine. There's a kind of insatiability of that. Gratitude works the other direction, doesn't it? It gives you a sense of contentment.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that having a positive and optimistic point of view is an important foundation for a good life or
Right.
a quality life, and certainly gratitude is a contributor or part of that.
Right.
Is building that positive attitude.
Right.
You talk about what I call abundance.
Yes.
An abundance mentality, and well. First of all, I'd like to think there's really kind of what I say are two enabling things that allow us to do this work. One is abundance, which means basically there's enough to go around.
Yes.
That we can make the pie bigger. That you can improve your quality of life without negatively impacting my
Good.
quality of life.
I like that.
And
Yeah.
and in fact, in a healthy environment, in a healthy culture. My quality of life is improved when your quality of life
There
is
it is.
improved.
That's
So,
right.
so that there's not this dog eat dog
Right.
give and take. It's a it's a communal kind of thing.
Right.
And then the second thing is agency. I think that we act as if we're victims of culture.
Yeah.
But we're really the architects of culture.
Nice.
And we really we control that. We can affect culture by with our agency, and
Right.
we just need to accept that and make a plan and use that agency to impact our culture.
So one of the ways that we do that is through events like the National Day of Prayer luncheon, and again, it's May the 1st, and this will air before that. And so if people would like to know more, if they have organizations that want to buy tables or people to come, how would they go about that?
That's they can certainly go to our website, which is www.thanksgiving.org, if you want to go directly to the National Day of Prayer, it's then a /NDOP.
Okay.
But there's also a link right there on the landing page. But we invite the whole community to be there.
Right, and it is. I don't know, how many do you expect?
600 people.
600 people. It's an amazing event where you'll run into people of all kinds in our community, politicians, but business leaders and religious leaders and civic activists and all sorts of people. It's a beautiful.
We'll have our mayor. We'll have our new city manager. Both are speaking at the event. Good friend of mine, George Mason's going to speak.
Well, he's going to pray.
He's going to
pray. Not going to really speak.
Well, that's speaking.
Yeah.
You're going to speak what your heart says.
That's right. Yeah.
And Talmadge Boston is the featured speaker this year.
Great.
But it'll be a great event, a fun thing.
Terrific. Well, Kyle, thank you so much for sharing your story and for inspiring us with the transition that you've made in your life and the contribution you're making to Dallas. I know you have a big project to renovate and to rebuild after 61 years, a facility that's kind of declined in just the nature of time.
Usability. And
Exactly. And if people are inspired to do that, you contact Kyle.
Yeah, please.
He's fundraising for this. And it's a pretty exciting plan for renovation, but it's also a beautiful place to go to. So remind people of where it is exactly.
Okay, so we're right. If you took downtown Dallas and stuck a pin in the middle of it, we're right. You're at Thanksgiving Square.
Right.
It's a triangle that is bordered on Pacific Avenue on one side, Irvay on the other, and Bryan on the third.
And the DART rail runs right along the backside of it.
The central downtown stop is right there next door to us, the Ackerd station.
It couldn't be more convenient.
Right.
And it's a place of serenity, a place you can go in the midst of a hubbub of the day and find things to look at, a place of peace, and I think make it a tourist spot for you, even if you live in Dallas. I think it's the right
I agree.
thing.
George, people are afraid to go downtown, and they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It's the first time is a little perplexing.
Yeah.
You've been there lots of times.
Oh, yeah.
You don't find it hard to get to Thanksgiving Square.
I don't. No.
Now
parking is not too easy.
Parking's not great, but I mean, actually, free parking's not great. But
that's right.
As with, when you go to Clyde Warren, you pay for parking.
Every place, exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for all you do for Dallas and for the work of Thanksgiving Foundation at Thanksgiving Square. We're grateful, Kyle.
And thank you for what you do for me.
You bet.
Appreciate it.
All right. Good.